Recorded live from the sexy summertime studios in New York, New York. It's the Matt and Ed Show, hosted by Matt and Ed.
Alright everyone, welcome to episode 6 of the Matt and Ed Show. My name's Matt.
My name is Ed.
And today, do we have a show for you?
Do we have a show for you? We do.
Part 1 in our Batman story arc. We're starting it off with Batman 89.
Or just Batman.
Yeah. But it's the one released in 1989. Anyways, how are you doing, Ed? Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day, Matt. I'm doing pretty good.
This is our first episode recorded in bulk. The next 6 episodes will be recorded in today. So if they suck, we're sorry.
Yeah. So you'll be hearing these periodically, but we're about to record 6 episodes of a podcast pretty much consecutively, so
yeah,
it's going to be an interesting experience for all of us.
Yeah, just a quick little note from last week. Thank you so much, Kit and Severio, for stopping by and enjoying a little episode with us. It's great to see that we've done 4 people at once, and it wasn't as much of a cluster as I would have liked.
Yeah.
You know, as I would have hoped it wasn't, I guess.
Yeah.
And obviously, Kit knows a lot about that movie,
Kit knows a lot about that movie.
Shout out to him. Also, I forgot to thank Maxime for doing his work with us, especially because he took over for Ed when he had to leave. So
shout out
I appreciate
Maxime.
that a lot. Last 2 episodes have been really fun for us to record. It's really fun to do the guest shows. Actually, last 3.
It really is.
Drew was on it.
Oh, true.
So, but it's back for us for the whole summer. Let's do this.
Let's do.
We just wanted to say thank you guys so much for supporting the podcast. If you want to support it more, you can go to Matt and Ed Show on YouTube.com is the main place where we post a lot of stuff. We also have a SoundCloud account, soundcloud.com/Matt-and-Ed-show, as well as our email address. If you want to email us directly, that's a pretty good way of getting in contact with us, mattandedshow@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/mattandedshow. And other social media, which I don't think I have to plug because... Oh, wait. Someone had a mixtape drop.
Oh, that is a thing.
Which you can check out on soundcloud.com. What's the link?
It's... The mixtape is called Proof of Concept. You can find it under The Walrus on SoundCloud.
I'll put the link in the description below, as I will with all the videos this summer. You'll have all our social media links in there as well.
Yeah.
And so, well, I think this is the first start of the summer because we're recording all these episodes in bulk. Ed doesn't know this, but I've actually arranged for a couple of games we're going to do for some of the episodes for the little 20-minute cycle where we're now reviewing.
Okay.
So that way we're not just talking about the same
thing 6 times in a row.
But I think it's cool that we're doing our first story arc. When I initially pitched this show to Ed, it involved pretty much a lot of story arcs and not as many single-handed reviews. But we felt that this would probably be the best one for the summer because we are both very big Batman fans.
Very big Batman fans.
So that's kind of, we thought it would be a good start to our story arcs, which we hope to dive into a lot of different types of movie history and maybe even TV shows.
Oh, absolutely.
To talk about the greater story arc.
But it all comes back to Batman.
It does all come back to Batman. Well, I guess for us, we figured that this would be a good starting point. You know, there's a ton of Batman movies, guys. We couldn't even get to all of them. You know, we missed out on the Batman from '66. We missed out on
Batman Begins.
Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises.
Batman v Superman, if you count that.
There's so many of them out there. Batman Under the Red Hood.
Batman Mask of the Phantasm.
There's The Killing Joke, which is... There's so many types of different Batman.
There's all the TV shows, the 66 show, the show from the 90s, the show that just... The Batman.
Batman the Brave and the Bold.
Oh, Batman the Brave and the Bold.
Which includes the best musical episode.
The single best musical episode of any TV show ever.
Mayhem of the Music Meister.
The Music Meister. That's such a good episode.
Yeah. I texted Ed. I was like, have you seen the episode of Batman the Brave and the Bold, Mayhem of the Music Meister? And he was like, yes. Of course. It's incredible.
It's a seminal moment in Batman history.
It is, I think, the most important moment in Batman history. I just realized that we didn't put our mics on the placemats like we're supposed to. But that's
Oh.
okay. Everything's going to be fine. His is on there, but mine isn't. So I'm going to just move that on over here.
All right. I'm going to take the moral high ground for this brief moment.
Yeah, well, I have the high ground. Haha. We'll get to those.
Oh, we will.
We will get to those. I have the high ground.
I'm excited to get to this. I'm not gonna lie.
Dumb movie series. The high ground.
He dies. He doesn't die, but then he gets killed because he has the high ground.
The high ground is not. Oh my god.
I mean, it's just nothing good about that line.
We're gonna get into a rant about this if we keep going about
All right,
the
so
damn
let's
high ground.
move on from the high ground.
Yeah. So I guess we want to also shout out to Severio because he provided us our second mic, which I am using right now.
Shout out to Severio.
Because we didn't get a chance to shout out. We also, I feel like we should shout out a couple people who have really been helping the show behind the scenes that you guys don't really know about because we unfortunately haven't really talked about them much on the show. So
Yeah.
I'd like to thank everyone from the media studio in our school. They've been super helpful in getting us microphones, giving us ideas, helping us figure out how to record with multiple people, figuring out our tech issues, and kind of just overall being supportive and stuff. So
incredibly helpful,
Mr. D. Gregorio, Miss Lipkin, Brendan, Morale, Legea, Mr. Louder, all you guys, thank you so much. If you are listening to this, we really appreciate all your guys' help and support. We'd also like to thank everyone who does the intros for the show. A lot of them are guests that we've had, like Drew, Kit, Severio. Kit is doing the intro to this one, I think.
I believe so.
Maxime and all of them. But a lot of them upcoming this summer. We haven't recorded them yet, but they're from a lot of our friends. So we just wanted to thank them in advance.
Thank you guys so much.
Because even though it's a little contribution, it really means the world to us. It's just something fun we like to do, is have someone else do the intro every time. And it's actually kind of hard to find people to do them for these summer episodes because I don't want someone who's already done it to do it again unless they're doing it together, like Kid and Severio.
So we got to find a bunch of people.
So we got to find a bunch of people that probably either aren't interested in being guests on the show or just can't because of some difficulties wherever. So we'd like to thank all you people for doing that for us.
Thank you guys so much.
We also like to thank Oscar, who's in the midst of coming up with a super logo for us and a super design, which will thankfully replace the images on the videos.
Google images.
They're not Google images.
Shout out to Google Images.
I draw them myself. And so thank you so much, Oscar, for agreeing to help us get a design for the logo going. Also, thank you to Severio's band, Social Q, who's writing an intro song for us, and my dad, who's writing an outro song for us. So we appreciate all you guys. If you have any way in which you'd like to support us or find something or creative to do for us, we'd really appreciate it. You can either send us an email, mattandedshow@gmail.com, or feel free to tweet us. Twitter.com/mattandedshow is the handle. We'd like to get a lot more active with people listening to the show, and I know a lot of them are people we already know, but in case you're not, we'd love to be able to interact with you.
That'd be dope.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of what I wanted to say in this moment, because there's a lot of people who have been really helpful to us,
Yeah, they really have.
We've been doing this for almost over a month now. We've actually been doing this, over. We started this, and it's been really cool to be able to to record all this stuff, and even though it takes a while, 6 hours in one day, we enjoy doing it, so we really appreciate it.
It's really fun. Although we're saying this at the beginning of the 6-hour session.
Yeah, so maybe at the end of the 6-hour session we'll have a different thing. You're wondering why we say 6-hour session if we only are reviewing 5 Batman movies. That's because we got a special surprise coming for you at the end of this section. A surprise suggested by Ed that I kind of hate him for.
Ed is very sorry for having suggested this movie.
Yes, you'll learn more about it in the later bit.
We'll get to it.
in a couple weeks, I guess.
Yeah.
So also, thank you guys so much for listening to these summer episodes. We're not gonna be able to be as responsive as we usually would be because we're both gonna be away.
Yeah.
And we also have a lot of stuff to do over the summer. So
It's also true we got
as much as we love to do this, it's just a lot harder, which is why we're recording all these in bulk right now.
Yeah. We were talking about going on hiatus, but we decided we wanted to keep it going throughout the summer.
Yeah. Which is why, of course, Ed's here. You know, was able to take some time out of his busy schedule to come over here to record for us. You know, we're very lucky that we were able to get a second mic because, as you guys know, I only own one mic as of right now, and that basically means we had to hunt around for a mic that we could keep essentially for a while. And of course, since the school year ended, we weren't comfortable using the media studios mic, and so we got Severio to give us his mic. So thank you so much. You can check out his SoundCloud stuff, which are in the description of last week's episode, but I'll also throw them in at the bottom of this week's episode to help him out a little bit. He's a great guy. Everyone's a great guy we've had on the show.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty great here. Now it feels like I'm so much more relaxed now that summer's here.
That's true. Yeah.
You know, I don't know. It's like an inherent sense of just like calm.
Yeah, you just don't have all the stuff to worry about anymore. It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, like I wake up early anyways, you know, so it's not like I'm really concerned by the like early wake up, but just like the stress of having to do stuff, you know, at least for right now, is not as urgent. You know, of course we're doing all this stuff, and I leave on Thursday, so I have a lot of stuff I have to get done, but it's at least stuff I'm interested in and stuff I'm having fun doing, you know, which is super cool.
Awesome.
So we're recording this on Father's Day for you guys. I mean,
we are.
We did mention that. Happy Father's Day to every and all fathers.
Happy Father's Day to every and all fathers.
Yeah, and we really just want to say we really appreciate all you fathers out there. You know, you do a really good job with all the stuff. It feels like we're missing something without a guest.
Yeah.
That's a problem when we do a couple guest episodes in a row.
Yeah, we sort of become complacent.
Yeah, we've become complacent to having someone else talk for us while we while we do something. It was super cool though to have those guests. So I mean, I know I'm kind of being redundant here, but I really want to thank them for coming.
And it was
on.
really fun. So thank you guys one more time.
Thanks for all the positive response to episode 3, which has been up for about a week now.
Yeah.
Episode 4 with Maxime, as we're recording this, is scheduled to come out on Tuesday, which will be super awesome for us. When we get back, obviously, we'll be doing a lot more of these.
Oh, yeah.
We're hoping that this schedule will allow pretty much every week I'll be gone, but I'm not exactly sure when I counted it out. I don't think it was exact, so maybe we'll delay them a little bit. What's going to happen is we're going to upload all the episodes before I leave, and then we're just going to make them public once we feel it's a good time to do so, I guess. So keep paying attention to that. Of course, pay attention to all our social media. We're probably going to be making a Facebook page pretty soon when we get back over the summer, just so instead of having to, annoy my Facebook friends about the show, people can just like the show on Facebook where they can get updates for that and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So any cool things you see this week while you've been gone? I mean, obviously E3 was this week, so I've been really interested in that.
I'm not really an E3 kind of person. Because I'm not really an E3 kind of person because I'm just not that into that stuff for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, is there anything? I don't think there's any major like pop cultural events for me. I mean, we both went out and saw musicals last week.
Oh yeah, we both did. I saw Come From Away on Friday, which I think is the best show I've ever seen, and I've seen quite a few shows, including Hamilton twice.
Twice. The man has no soul.
No soul. Hey, you saw it once, and I was there, except I was on the other side of the crowd.
That's also true. But, man, there is, people who have seen... There's a special circle of hell reserved for people who have seen Hamilton twice.
Listen, it's not my fault, okay? I don't... I've also seen Book of Mormon twice, which I actually saw Book of Mormon this week as well. What did you see this week?
I saw Pacific Overtures on Broadway, which is a revival of a show written by Stephen Sondheim and I'm pretty sure John Weidman in 1976. And I know a lot about Sondheim because in 8th grade, my middle school had a required class on the history of Stephen Sondheim.
Really?
Yeah, shout out to Adam Santoni who taught that class. It was literally you would spend a year in 8th grade doing the entire oeuvre of Stephen Sondheim. You would study all his shows. You would learn about like the themes. You would learn about the history. So I could wax about Pacific Overtures for a pretty long time.
So in the context, how was it?
It was very good. I would not say it's the best show I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But it was excellent. And
Was
Stephen
anyone of note in it, or
George Takei was in it.
George Takei?
Yeah.
Oh.
He played the reciter, who is essentially the narrator of the show.
Oh my. Did he say oh my?
He did not say oh my.
Damn.
You could tell he wanted to.
Yeah, he is amazing on social media.
He's the best.
Yeah, so Come From Away, for those of you who don't know, is a new musical that came out, I think, late last year.
Yeah.
And essentially what it is, it's a very true story about a town called Gander in Newfoundland, which, for those of you who don't know, is in Canada.
I did not know that until this musical came out.
And so, basically, this town had about 9,000 people in it. Which is very small, especially if you're coming from a place like New York City, like we do. Like I do.
Like you do.
You come from New Jersey, but I think it's safe to say that there's more people in Hoboken than there are in Gander.
I would say that's a fair bit.
And essentially, this play is all taken from interview transcripts. The two writers did hundreds of hours of interviews with people around this event. So essentially, during 9/11, the thing about Gander is it's right next to it has a huge airport in Halifax, which is like right adjacent to the town. And essentially, what it was used for was back before there were jet engine planes needed to refuel when they were taking long trips. So like the Beatles, it was the first place they stopped in North America would have been that airport in Halifax.
Wow.
Because that's when jet engines needed to refuel, they'd always go there.
Right.
But once jets were made and planes could go faster on less fuel, there was no need for the airport in Halifax, essentially. So they just kind of had a huge airport in a very small town. But during 9/11, when the airspace closed, there was pretty much a complete lack of... they couldn't go anywhere. These planes already in the air. Oops. I'd got an email from a university.
Oh, God.
So essentially, what happened was these 38 planes all had to land in this town called Gander and wait for the airspace to open again. And this town of 9,000 people, there were 7,000 strays, or people come from a ways, people who weren't from Gander, that they had to basically stay. They had to make at home and feed and take care of for a couple days before. And it's an amazing story, and there's 12 people in the cast, and they all play multiple characters. It's a perfect mix of comedy and tragedy, and it has a very sweet ending at the end that I'm not going to spoil. But it's a very great show, and I really do recommend if you have the ability to go see it. Unfortunately did not win Best Musical, but it was nominated for it. So if you have a chance to go see that, I would definitely recommend doing that. Yeah. So with that being said, unless you have anything else, are we ready to hop into this?
Let's delve into the bat.
Okay, Batman 89. So basically, this was Tim Burton's Batman. Well, one of his Batmans. Batman. It was released on June 19th, 1989. Ed, what do you think the budget was?
Ooh, all right. I would say high. Definitely high, because this is a high production value movie. It's a big Hollywood thing. So I would say maybe 75 million?
You would be very wrong. 35 million. Now, actually a pretty small budget considering. Wow. So how much do you think it made?
Ooh, I would say like 300 million.
The box office was $411.3 million, which is a lot of money in 1989.
It's a lot of
Interesting note, it actually broke the opening weekend record, which was set, I believe, the week prior by Ghostbusters 2.
Ha!
Which is Actually, a movie I like a lot.
I also like Ghostbusters too. But
I love Ghostbusters in general. Ghostbusters is actually like, my friends know that I am a very huge Ghostbusters fan, to the point where I did say it was my favorite movie for a long time. It's definitely in like my top 10 now.
Ghostbusters is a very good movie. And Ghostbusters 2 is an underrated movie.
Yeah, people don't like it for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
Yeah. So the movie stars Michael Keaton as Batman and Bruce Wayne. My favorite Michael Keaton performance was probably him in Birdman.
I haven't seen Birdman.
Birdman's awesome.
I need to see Birdman.
Yeah. It also stars one of my favorite actors in the world, Jack Nicholson, as the Joker, or Jack Napier.
Which is pretty much the only surname that Joker has been given in about 75 years.
Yeah. It also has Kim Basinger or Bassinger?
I don't know.
I think it's Basinger as a Vicky Vale, Robert Wool as Alexander Knox, Pat Hingle as Commissioner Gordon, Billy D. Williams or Orlando Calrissian as Harvey Dent, and a bunch of other people. Which I have more people, but they're not really important characters.
Yeah. As soon as you get to Lando, you're done.
Yeah. So, Ed, what did you think of this movie? Just quick thoughts in the beginning, because you had never seen this movie.
Yeah.
I've seen it, I believe, twice before.
Yeah, I'd sort of avoided watching this movie for some reason. Like, I think I was trying to save it for a moment I knew would be opportune, but then it just sort of never happened. But I was really glad to watch this movie now. I definitely enjoyed it a lot. I think it's one of the better movies that we've seen for this podcast.
I mean, that's not very hard. I mean,
that's also true.
Say that as of the episodes right now, it's probably the second best. Because I put below Son of God, but
City of God.
Damn it! I put it below City of God, but I think I put it above everything else so far.
That's valid.
That we've talked about.
I don't know, man. Air Buddies.
Air Buddies is actually like, people are asking like, why'd you review Air Buddies as your second movie? And I was like, it was a
Air
good
Buddies
movie.
was legit a good movie.
Yeah.
I will defend Air Buddies. However, I thought it was interesting that this seemed to be more a Joker movie than a Batman movie.
It really is. And also Batman kills people.
And also Batman kills a lot of people.
Which is not true to the nature of Batman,
Yeah.
but hey, whatever.
Well,
I have a quote about Tim Burton to kind of explain the nature of this film later.
Alright.
So, yeah, it is really heavily Joker.
We get into the origin of the Joker more than almost anyone ever does, except for Alan Moore in the excellent comic The Killing Joke.
Which is one of my favorite comics of all time.
Is awesome.
And a lot of the base of this movie.
That makes sense.
Was The Killing Joke.
So it's revealed that the Joker is sort of a mob enforcer who's sleeping with his boss's wife.
Billy D. Williams' mistress.
Was that Billy D. Williams?
I believe so, yes.
Wait, that's plot development I did not see coming. Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's not Billy D. Williams.
Sorry.
No, he's the one trying to put the kibosh on these guys.
Yeah.
I just said
bad.
kibosh. Fear me.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I don't know why I got mixed up with that. I've seen this movie, I swear.
No, but yeah, it was Jack Nicholson sleeping with his mob boss's wife and
mistress, yeah.
Mistress, yeah. And he sells him out. His boss sells him out to the cops. And then he falls in a vat of acid, is horribly disfigured, and comes out seeking revenge as the white, green-haired, purple suit-wearing, pasty-faced whack job known as the Joker.
Woo!
Yay.
Even though a lot of the time he's not wearing his makeup.
That was really strange to me.
Yeah, because he still has like his little smile thing going on.
That was... It was honestly, I was always, when he didn't have the makeup on, I was wishing he would put it on.
Yeah, I didn't like, because he's wearing his like purple suit and like...
Yeah, it was just weird.
Yeah. So, the Joker, what are your thoughts on that, lad? In this movie in general? Not in The Dark Knight, because we're talking about that later.
Yeah, we'll get to The Dark Knight later, but... I think there's a legitimate argument to make that the Joker is the greatest comic book villain of all time.
I don't know. Calendar Man's pretty great.
I would say pretty much the two villains that I would accept if someone accept from as an answer for the greatest supervillain of all time would be the Joker and Magneto.
I have a special connection to Magneto, actually.
Completely different reasons. Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Camp Color War team. Red Magneto, 2015. Oh. Last place. Woo! But yeah, that's my connection to Magneto. Supervillain SmackDown.
High quality.
Joker was also in that. He was white team.
Huh.
Yeah. camp stuff. Anyone who doesn't listen to camp's like, what the hell is he talking about? And the people who watch from camp are like, "Ha, you got last place. Stop talking about Color War, you bum." And,
I don't know what any of this is.
Yeah, but yeah, I could see where you put Magneto and the Joker as the two greatest villains of all time, comic book wise.
Yeah, but the thing with the Joker is he's pretty much just like the epitome of breaking all the rules for everything ever.
Yeah, and he's the opposite of Batman, which is what is
very much the opposite.
I think
of Batman.
for a lot of the time, the villain is reflective on the hero he's facing.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
and we'll definitely get into that further with later movies.
Yeah, but like, I think the Joker is very, perfect for Batman, which is why he's so good. I think if you put him against, the Flash, he might not be as.
Yeah, the Joker would not make the Flash villain. For several reasons.
Yeah.
Including the rapidity with which the Flash would kick the Joker's ass.
I think what makes Batman specifically so cool is he has so many different, like they say his rogues gallery is the best of all time. And when you really think about it, it is. And you look at these movies and think of so many villains, but also the ones that aren't really in the movies.
Oh, yeah.
Like, where is Clayface?
Clayface is so good.
Or like Man-Bat.
Man-Bat is fantastic.
I'm trying to think who's not in the
movie.
Killer Croc.
Terrible. Killer Croc would be fantastic.
Although he wasn't Suicide Squad.
Ooh. Well, I'd watch something with the Calculator.
Yeah.
Emperor Penguin even.
The what they call the White Owl Legion?
The Court of Owls.
The Court of Owls. They're the new ones.
Yeah, and there are a lot of smaller scale Batman villains that would be fantastic in a group.
Yeah.
Like movie where the ventriloquist is included and
with the Music Meister.
Yes. Of course, Batman also has some of the worst villains ever.
Batman does have a lot of bad ones, but I think the good outweighs the bad.
Definitely.
Think of how many Batman villains are amazing. Because there's the super awesome ones. Like my favorites are probably, let's see, Joker obviously.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Two-Face fan. I am such a big Two-Face. I personally like him better than Joker, but that's just my relative. Yeah. I mean, they're kind of similar in ways. I'm a huge Scarecrow fan.
True.
I love the Scarecrow. Riddler, if done great,
Riddler
can be
is
awesome. But I feel like a lot of times Riddler's too kooky for my taste.
Sometimes.
I prefer more the Arkham Asylum Riddler,
Oh, true.
Even though he's not actually a villain in the games per se,
he's
just
very good.
Yeah.
I would say my top 3 non-Joker Batman villains are in order: the Riddler, Two-Face, and Mr. Freeze.
Oh, hey Ed.
Yes?
What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age. Yeah.
There are going to be a lot of ice puns made today.
Yeah.
A lot.
There's Mr. Freeze. I like Mr. Freeze. I liked him more as a kid.
Yeah.
I think than I did as a...
It's pretty much the opposite with me. I've come to like Mr. Freeze more.
Oh.
As I saw his stuff in Batman the Animated Series, which is amazing.
Batman the Animated Series is awesome.
It is awesome. And their version of Mr. Freeze is
Spider-Man Animated Series is awesome from the 90s.
Oh, Spectacular Spider-Man?
I think
no, that's the later one.
No, it's the one where Kingpin's the main villain essentially.
But actually, while we're on that subject, let me tell you some trivia about the 90s Spider-Man show.
Oh, I have trivia about that too, but you say your trivia.
They had some very specific rules they had to abide when they were making that show to pacify the studio that were afraid of corrupting the young minds.
Oh, yeah.
For example, Spider-Man only threw 2 punches in the entire run of the season.
Good job, Spidey.
They weren't allowed to punch anyone. They weren't allowed to break glass on screen. They weren't allowed to show fire. I mean, characters couldn't bleed, which isn't too crazy, but blood couldn't even be mentioned.
Yeah.
And then they introduced the excellent Spider-Man villain Morbius, who is a vampire, so he had to be draining plasma from people instead of blood.
Yeah, I remember that.
There was a specific caveat as well that they had to be they had to show that Spider-Man was not hurting pigeons when he landed on the roof.
Yeah.
The Spider-Man animated series was an interesting time.
I have a question for you, and I think I want to get more into a debate on this in our next episode.
All right.
Do you think Batman would be a worse superhero if not for his villains? Do you think his villains make him the superhero that he is? Because I think there's a strong argument with that. Because a lot of times, the superheroes are defined by their powers, but I think Batman is more defined by his villains. So if you give him less spectacular villains, does that make Batman less spectacular?
I think it does. I think because Batman is basically just a guy with anger issues
And a lot of money.
and like all the money in the world.
And Batman credit cards.
Oh yeah. But I think with Batman, since he's also essentially a detective, like you showed him in Detective Comics, there are a lot of the greatest detective stories in comics heavily feature Batman. But I think he only works if he's facing off against someone interesting. Because Batman in and of himself is not that interesting of a character, I would say.
I think he has his moments. I mean, there's the classic, my parents are dead.
I think there are some incredible Batman moments, but I think to have the staying power that he's had and have the amount of fantastic stories told about him that he doesn't have that kind of staying power. We're telling Batman stories for the villains. Like, if I'm looking for a Batman story, I'm not going to look at what he's doing. I'm going to be like, okay, who's he fighting? Is he going to be fighting the Riddler? Is he going to be fighting Killer Croc? Is he going to be fighting some butt munch I've never heard of?
Yeah, I agree with you on that, definitely. He is a pretty normal guy, and I think that's what makes him relatable, but at the same time,
Yeah. Actually, there's a specific thing about Batman that I think works really well that sort of ties into the stuff about the Joker. Because I sort of thought I'd be mad about seeing an origin story for the Joker on film. I think that's one of the reasons I waited so long. Because one of my favorite things about the Joker in general
is his lack of origin.
He just comes out of nowhere to screw with people. But what I've sort of realized over these movies is Batman works because he's an archetype more than a character. There's almost no story you can't tell with Batman. You can be incredibly dark and gritty, like this movie in some ways, or like The Dark Knight Returns, which is that on steroids. Or you can also be ridiculously light and goofy, like later movies in like the 1966 TV show. But Batman will fit effortlessly into almost any story because he's both deadly serious and completely ridiculous. And the same applies to most of his villains, like the Joker especially.
Yeah.
So I think there's almost no story you can't tell with Batman. So I think it's impossible. I've come to the belief that it's impossible to ruin Batman. That's a thing nerds have a lot, where you'll be like, you ruined my favorite character, but I don't think Batman can be ruined because I think Batman is ageless.
Well, it came pretty close.
I don't know if Batman can't be ruined.
So when the idea for these rights were bought for the movie, this was at a time in which Batman wasn't exactly on its highest point. There were a lot of... It just wasn't as popular. Superheroes, the peak in the 60s had kind of died down.
It was the 80s. Superheroes were for nerds.
Yeah, essentially. But when they bought the rights of this movie, the two people who bought them wanted this movie to make a definitive, dark, serious version of Batman, the way Bob Kane and Bill Finger had envisioned him in 1939. A creature of the night, stalking criminals in the shadows.
Right.
So that was kind of the purpose of this movie, and he's a lot darker. Obviously, he doesn't stick to all the rules of Batman. Like, he does kill a lot of people in this movie.
Well, I mean, Bob Kane and Bill Finger did have Batman kill a lot of people.
Yeah. So, speaking of Batman, where do you think my main man, Michael Keaton, ranks upon the Batman we have seen? Because we've seen the recently departed Adam West, and no, that is not why we decided to do this episode.
Nope. He died right after we made this decision.
He just happened to die the day after we.
Yes.
We have Adam West.
Rest in peace, Adam West. You were the best.
Michael Keaton. We have
Val Kilmer.
These are all the mainstream movie ones.
Yeah.
We have Christian Bale, George Clooney, and
that's it.
No, Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck,
Who's Batman now.
Yeah.
And I think Ben Affleck's actually a really good Batman.
I think Ben Affleck...
Batman and Superman, Ben Affleck was the best part of that movie. And Wonder Woman.
Yeah, Ben Affleck was one of the better parts of that movie.
It was a long movie.
It really was.
I'm really happy we didn't watch that.
Definitely, yeah.
It was longer than City of God. I said it right.
He said it right.
Woohoo!
Alright, but I would say Keaton is high.
I'd put Keaton, I think... A lot of people would put Keaton, between... 1 or 2, depending on their opinion on Bale.
I think I would put Bale at the top, then Keaton, then West.
I'd put Keaton West Bale, I think.
Oh, you're not a Bale fan?
I just don't like his Batman voice. I think it's kind of dumb.
I can't argue with that. But I mean,
He sounds like a moody teenager mad at his parents. That's
Yeah.
But other than that, I really do like.
I really like his Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, he's a great Bruce Wayne, and I think to be Batman, you need to be great at both.
Yeah.
You know, I think George Clooney was a good Bruce Wayne, but I think he was a terrible
not a
Batman.
good Batman.
That's the problem.
And I think Ben Affleck is definitely a better Batman than he is a Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, I'd say so. So, how much do you think this movie got on Rotten Tomatoes? Do you know?
I don't know, but I would guess like 68. 60. Yeah, 68.
72. So a little higher. You know, this is generally perceived as a pretty good movie and a pretty good starting off point for a series that would eventually go really downhill.
Really, really, really downhill.
But this movie was actually the highest grossing comic book movie until The Dark Knight shattered it.
Nice.
So for a very long time. This was during a period, you know, nowadays we look back and comic book movies are like the biggest things in the world.
The biggest things
you know,
ever.
and that's a lot of help to not only The Dark Knight, but I think Marvel especially really got that. Although I think the problem with Marvel movies more so is they don't put enough emphasis on the villain, which I think DC does in spades in almost every movie we've seen today, specifically Batman. There's so much emphasis put on the villains of the movie.
The villain is often, but not always, the best part of the movie.
And the main character, essentially. Like,
Definitely.
Batman's a part of it. I mean, you can say, like, in Batman and Robin, it's really, you know...
Yeah. Batman and Robin, it's more about Batman than in any of the others.
And Robin, yeah.
And Robin.
Yeah, it's really about Robin.
In a lot of ways, yeah.
Um,
But Batman Forever is essentially about the Riddler. Batman Returns is mostly about Catwoman, I'd say.
yeah.
And Batman is about the Joker.
So, in this movie, what did you think the, like, our best artistic choices of the movie were?
I loved the Gotham design.
Yeah, the very, you know, dark with, like, kind of colorful stuff,
Yeah.
but not too over the top.
It wasn't all black, it was sane, it was dark, it was just very cool looking as a place.
Because I think with Gotham, it needs to be realistic, but almost a little darker than normal, you know?
Yeah.
Which is what I think, because I think Batman works the best. I mean, he can be hilarious in, like, the 60s Batman, but I think he works the best as a serious character, and I think Gotham needs to reflect that, you know? A lot of dark stuff, a lot of dark undertones, although they do have their fair share of wackiness in this movie, and I think the Joker does a good job in doing that, you know?
Yeah. While he's, killing people, he does actually bring a fair share of levity to the movie.
Yeah. And I think Jack Nicholson was the perfect person to cast at this time.
Absolutely.
Because I think he brings the right amount of crazy with the, like, almost saneness in him and the humanity.
Yeah.
And I think, because Jack Nicholson is one of my favorite actors, and specifically his talent for playing crazy, you know, in The Shining, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, pretty much all of his movies he's playing someone crazy. And he's one of my favorite actors.
Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of Jack Nicholson. Like,
you should.
I need to watch The Shining, because I just finished reading The Shining, and it was awesome, but haven't seen the movie yet.
The movie's not as good. I'd also recommend The Shinning, which is the Simpsons episode of Treehouse of Horror of The Shining.
I am gonna need to watch that as well.
There's a lot of Groundskeeper Willie in that one. I have that on DVD, actually.
Perfect.
Yeah. I have, like, a collection of Treehouse of Horrors.
Yeah.
So, what did you think about Tim Burton as a director for this movie?
In general, I like Tim Burton. I like his style. I really
It's very creepy and dark,
Yeah.
and I think he's a good choice for the Batman thing. It's personal, although it's interesting, he personally wasn't a huge comic book fan. He's quoted as to saying, I was never a giant comic book fan, but I've always loved the image of Batman and the Joker. The reason I've never been a comic book fan, and I think it started when I was a child, is because I could never tell which box I was supposed to read. I don't know if it was dyslexia or whatever, but that's why I love The Killing Joke, because for the first time I could tell which one to read. It's my favorite, the first comic I've ever loved, and the success of those graphic novels made our ideas more acceptable.
Huh. Actually, did you hear about the brief, social media scrap a few years ago between Tim Burton and Kevin Smith over comics?
I've heard of it, but not much into detail.
Because I can't remember what movie Tim Burton had directed. I feel like it was a Planet of the Apes movie, but I don't know if
Probably.
Tim Burton ever directed a Planet of the Apes movie. But Kevin Smith pointed out that the ending of the movie was kind of similar to a comic book that he'd written at one point, and then Tim Burton's like, yeah, no, anyone who knows me knows that I wouldn't be reading a comic book. And then Kevin Smith responded, well, that explains fucking Batman.
Jeez. I don't know. I mean, Kevin Smith, obviously, he's super into comic
He's
books.
super into comic books.
Obviously, because he's a show comic book man.
Yes.
But I think this was a good portrayal of Batman. And I think at the time in the 80s where it's a lot of wackiness,
A lot of wackiness.
I think this was good for its time, and I think it's aged fine.
I think it has, yeah.
I think there's honestly, context is king. You gotta
Context is king.
understand what the type of movie this was meant to be. It was meant to be kind of dark and creepy, and I think Tim Burton's a perfect choice for that.
Yeah.
And I think the casting pretty much all was great.
Definitely.
There was never really any, there was no moment in which I said, I don't think they should be playing in this movie. And I think another thing I liked about it is they essentially had one villain.
Yeah.
Which a lot of times in Batman movies especially, they don't.
In fact,
sometimes,
this is the only Batman movie we watched with just one villain.
Yeah. And I think sometimes it can work out pretty well. We'll talk more about, The Dark Knight's obvious.
Yeah.
But, we'll talk about how I didn't think the Two-Face Riddler combo was that bad.
I didn't either. It wasn't so great
I think
in Batman
two
Returns.
villains is the perfect amount, but I think one is actually refreshing sometimes. And
Because-
even in Batman Begins, you had Ra's al Ghul and the Scarecrow.
Yeah.
Even though the Scarecrow was super awesome in that
Scarecrow
movie.
was super awesome in that movie.
I didn't really love that movie the first time I watched it, but the second time is when I really got into it. Because I was a kid when I watched it first.
That makes sense.
And I think the good thing about this movie is I think you can watch it at pretty much any age and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I think with a lot of Batman movies, the problem is you can't really, at many ages...
It's not universal.
Yeah. You'll enjoy it at a certain age, And I think with very few exceptions, that's true in the Batman series.
Yeah.
I think this is an exception. I think The Dark Knight's an exception because it's just the perfect movie. But if you were a really young kid, you'd probably be pretty scared
You'd
of
be
it.
freaked out.
Yeah. Is there anything that really stands out to you about this movie, though, in comparison to all the others? Because you really did marathon these.
I did, yeah.
I've seen Batman and Robin 7 times, so I didn't feel the need to watch it.
I pretty much, I did all of these in more or less one sitting yesterday.
Did you do them in the order that we're reviewing them? Or?
I did Batman and then Forever and then Robin and then I went back to do Returns. And then I did The Dark Knight at the end.
Yeah.
So I straight up forgot about Batman Returns until after and Robin.
Yeah, Returns is... we were talking about, Returns kind of being one that's there. Because it's not good or bad enough to really constitute anything crazy. I was considering when I was looking over what we should review, dropping that and putting in the 60s one.
Yeah.
But, at the end of the day, whatever.
At the end of the day, you got a marathon. But there were a couple moments that... I always when I'm looking at a movie and we're going to do a podcast on it, I'm always looking for moments to discuss. Specific lines we can pick apart a little bit. And there are a couple of moments that I thought were kind of goofy that I'd want to bring up, when the Joker's high school aptitude for chemistry makes him a master chemist.
Yeah, that was kind of weird.
But there's a specific line that the Joker has that's one of the most quintessential Joker lines that I think is... It's really interesting in the context of this movie and in the context of Batman in general, which is the line, where does he get those wonderful toys?
Yeah.
Which is one of the two questions the Joker asked Batman in life after Why So Serious?
Yeah.
Which we will definitely get to later. But the thing about where does he get all those wonderful toys is it's a legitimate criticism of the movie in a lot of ways. It doesn't really make sense that Batman has all the stuff he does. But it makes even less sense that Joker has all the stuff he does.
Yeah, the Joker, they do use a lot of they definitely played up the wacky aspect of the Joker,
But,
in this movie, much more so than in The Dark Knight, obviously.
Definitely. But you gotta think about, the Joker's budget, the amount he spends, the amount he buys, the amount he makes.
I think he got it from the mob, essentially.
Yeah, so you sort of get where he got that, but it's sort of weird that he uses the money to make, for example, a giant telescoping pistol in that one scene, or, the joy buzzer, but he gets it all made up really quickly and pretty much in hiding. So it's like, does he have a source of evil toy makers? Is this a shop that already existed that he knew where to get the
shop
stuff?
of horrors, perhaps?
Maybe. But it's weird because he sort of already knows what he's doing when he climbs out of the acid.
Yeah.
But my favorite Joker gag, for reasons that I would like to get into right now, if that's okay, is the scene where he's like, the scene at the very climax of the movie where Batman and Vicky Vale are dangling from a skyscraper, and he's like, "Let me give you a hand," and he reaches down, and Vicky Vale takes his hand, and it's a rubber one that detaches.
Yeah.
And there are a few things I'd like to say about that hand.
Okay.
First of all, he clearly is not wearing the hand 5 seconds before. Like, very clearly, he reaches up and grabs both Batman and Vicky Vale and drags them down. So he has, like, thumbs and stuff. So that is not the same hand, which means he has, in full view of Batman and Vale, attached a rubber hand into his sleeve while we're not looking. So, good job on the detective work there. You investigative reporter and photographer and you world's greatest detective on grabbing the hand that he clearly just put on that is clearly fake. But more importantly, I want to talk about the fact that he had that. He had on his person a rubber hand that's really only useful in a situation where someone's teetering on the precipice of something. Like, you know he had it made up for that specific purpose.
Think so.
So, I'm asking myself, like, did he know somehow that was gonna be happening? Like, did he sort of just luck into this scenario? If he had he didn't have an opportunity, would he have pushed someone off a precipice so he could just make the joke? Because I feel like that's something he would do.
I have a question for you, Ed.
Shoot.
Have you ever danced with the devil by the pale moonlight?
Yeah.
Was that not the coolest line ever?
That's the coolest line ever, but I don't know what it means.
Yeah, I don't think you're supposed to.
It's worrying. Because
You know.
it's a great line. The scene where the line, "Have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight," is probably my favorite scene in the movie, just because Michael Keaton is so entertainingly crazy.
Jack Nicholson?
No, Michael Keaton.
Oh, yeah, Michael Keaton in that scene.
When he's going all nuts as Bruce Wayne, he starts smashing vases, and you're like, "You want to get nuts!"
You want to get... Yeah.
It's just a great scene.
What do you think of the whole plot about Smilex?
Smilex is such
don't-
a stupid name for a chemical.
If you don't know, Smilex is the chemical that Joker has that causes victims to die laughing.
That he made from his high school chemistry knowledge.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't take chemistry, but I don't think they teach you how to do that. Should I have taken chemistry?
I mean, probably.
Well,
I probably should have.
yeah.
There's
But
also a lot of, like, Batman just surviving stuff.
yeah,
You know, in this movie. He survives
He
getting shot. He
sort of
falls
casually.
He falls off and crashes into a gargoyle, you know. He just kind of...
Batman is sort of immune to pain
Yeah.
in general, but also very specifically in this movie.
Well, you know he's not immune to pain. If a little person comes and breaks his back.
That's a pretty impressive brain impression, actually.
No, whenever I think of the Bane from Dark Knight Rises, I always think of the South Park thing where it's like, "Why, hello there, Mr. UPS man," where Randy has the Bane mask and he takes the, "Hello there, Mr. UPS man." I always thought that was hilarious. I don't know why. That's what I think of when I think of Bane in The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
What a dumb voice.
What a dumb voice. I always think of, did you ever see any of those videos where there's that scene where they're like chanting like "Asa, Asa," and not really clear what they're chanting, and people sort of thought they were chanting "pasta, pasta, fish, fish" for a while, so it's "pasta, pasta, fish, fish, pasta, pasta, fish, fish," and there's some great pasta fish videos out there.
Just thinking, what else? Do you have anything else you want to say about this movie?
I'd like to talk about the score, actually.
Yeah,
The music.
I mean, the music in pretty much every Batman movie we saw was awesome.
was awesome. But there's a specific kind of Danny Elfman music, which Danny Elfman didn't do the music for all these movies, but he did the music for the first one, and it was sort of a specific sound for that, and for film scores in general in a lot of ways, where you're not supposed to remember the music 3 seconds after you hear it. Like, I couldn't hum for you anything from that because it exists solely to enhance the movie. And like, I'm wondering what your opinion on that is. Do you think film scores should be memorable?
I think that a great movie and the most iconic ones need a great score, or at least a great song. You know.
Yeah.
I think that if the music in a movie is bad, it can like really be bad. But I feel like it almost always music in movies, even in bad movies, is usually pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of, I guess maybe that's just like the case with the types of people who write music for movies. You know, but I think it can definitely enhance more than it can detract in some cases. And I think it's the same way for video games. If a music in a video game is awesome, and you know, if you have a composer like Grant Kirkhope doing it, it's going to be awesome. I think that really, and it really is important in setting the tone of the movie, if that makes sense.
Pretty much the tone is 60% from the score, I would argue.
Yeah. I think that if the score of a movie isn't good, then the movie can really be affected by it.
Yeah.
But I feel like more often than not, it actually is a bonus of the movie. And it's usually something you can say, hey, well, this is what I enjoyed about the movie.
Yeah.
So talk about the score.
Like, even with some of the very, very bad movies that we've watched over the course of the podcast, I can't think of one where I was thinking the music isn't good.
Yeah, like, I think that was the best part of the last Arbondar.
Definitely.
And I think that it was awesome in Knight's Tale. I know I didn't love Knight's Tale.
But the score for that
was
fantastic. Yeah, I can't really think of any movies where I can't really think of any movies that I've watched pretty much ever where I was turned off by the score. Except maybe Rogue One.
I think, really? What was so bad about Rogue One?
I don't know. There were bits where I didn't think the score synced that well with what was happening on screen. I don't know what it was. Then I found out after the fact that apparently Michael Giacchino wrote that score in something like 3 weeks. Because
I mean, with Star Wars, you kind of have a pretty good template.
Yeah, you kind
of remix
to work off.
You kind of remix the already existing songs.
Yeah.
You know.
I don't know, I just wasn't a fan for some reason. It might be because I was expecting the caliber of the average Star Wars movie, which is some of the best film scoring probably ever.
I'd say so. Star Wars is up there.
Yeah.
I think pretty much any Steven Spielberg. I'm a huge supporter of the Indiana Jones theme.
Oh, yeah.
And the score of that movie. Maybe it's because my introduction to both Indiana Jones and Star Wars was actually the Lego games.
Oh.
So, because I wasn't really into Star Wars when I was a little kid because I was dumb, and I kind of just started playing the Lego games, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll check these ones out. And back then, we'll talk about this more when I had to go to Blockbuster. When we review Star Wars, but I had to go to Blockbuster. So I actually watched the movies very out of order.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I just watched them in a completely random order.
Huh.
And when we review Star Wars, I'll go into more detail about that.
And we will review Star Wars.
But I think a lot of times the score, especially in this movie, really helped it establish its tone. You know? I mean, it's not the na 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 Batman. I actually had to play that in band once.
Wait, really?
Yeah, it was literally just playing D. I play alto sax in the school band, and so I was just.
That's also one of the greatest pieces of film music ever.
It's a TV show.
Well, it's used in the '66 movie.
Yeah, because it's the theme from the TV.
I still count it.
All right. Well,
TV themes are a whole other thing.
Any final thoughts on this movie?
Not really. This was one of the best movies that we watched for this marathon. I would definitely recommend it.
It's one of the best movies we've ever watched.
I would agree.
I think it's at least like third.
Yeah. Although I don't know, man. Everybody's.
Yeah. Don't get me started on that movie. To defend that movie every day of my life.
Yeah. Oh! Before we stop, I just want a brief moment of silence for Bob, the henchman unwittingly shot by Jack Nicholson towards the end of the movie.
Never good to have a moment of silence on
All
a
right.
podcast.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
But thank you for that.
Oh, I just got an email. We've had 600 total minutes watched. Yay.
Hey! That is very dope.
Yeah. Woo.
Shout out to whoever was watching the podcast for the last 600 for the 600th minute.
Yeah.
You are cool.
You guys are the best.
You guys are the best.
We really appreciate that. So, I guess any final thoughts on this very last movie before we go too much into the wrapping up of it?
Yeah. Well, it does have the fantastic line that was not discussed. The greatest two-word phrase in the history of film, maybe. I'm Batman.
I'm Batman, yeah.
Just his introduction is one of the great. I can't think of a better two-word phrase in any movie. Other than maybe Han Solo's Fly Casual. I really like Fly Casual in New Hope.
Wait a minute. We're over 1,000 minutes, YouTube.
Are we?
Yeah.
Damn, son.
Over 1,200. I don't know why they... Oh, I think it was Air Buddies.
Right.
Like, solely surpassed that much.
Wow.
Yeah?
Shout out to Air Buddies.
Right. Yeah, that's a little bit of our analytics for you guys.
All right.
600 total minutes. But I guess any concluding thoughts? Again, I know I've said this for the third time now.
I have no more concluding thoughts. Do you have any concluding thoughts?
No, I think everyone should check this movie out, not just if you're doing a marathon, but just like in general. If you're gonna do a Batman thing, this is definitely one of the best movies to check out. I think it's really good to watch this and then Dark Knight because there's a lot of things to compare and contrast between the two.
I don't recommend marathoning the Batman movies. Like, if you learn one thing today, it's don't watch all the Batman movies at once, kids.
Yeah. It's
Didn't even watch all the Batman movies at once. That'd be hell.
Yeah.
You don't want to do it.
So, I guess any concluding thoughts for this episode before I do the wrap-up?
I got nothing. Hit him with a wrap-up.
All right. So, if you want to subscribe to us on YouTube, we'd greatly appreciate it. You can please like, comment, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Matt and Ed Show, which is on YouTube. If you want to subscribe to our SoundCloud, soundcloud.com/Matt-Ed-Show.
No hyphen at the end.
If you would like to send us an email, and we hope that you do, so you can contact us, do it at mattnedshow@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Twitter, Matt and Ed Show on Twitter. And we hope all of you have an amazing day, amazing week, and we hope that your summer is starting off
with a bang.
Relaxing with us, and we hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Feel free to hit us up with any feedback, and thank you guys so much.
Right. You'll see us in a week. We'll see you in a few minutes.
Yep. Adios.